I walked into my mother-in-law's 70th birthday dinner in Rome and froze. My chair was gone. 12 seats circled that table. 12. Not 13. My husband glanced up, and I swear I saw the corner of his mouth twitch before he said it. Oops, guess we miscounted. The family laughed, not cruel laughter. Worse, the kind that says we all know what is happening here. I felt my chest tighten, but my voice came out ice cold. Seems I am not family. I turned, walked straight through that Michelin-starred restaurant, past the waiters, past the view of the Colosseum glowing against the Roman sky, and I pulled out my phone. They had 30 minutes before they realized what I'd done. That was all I needed. If you've ever been the outsider in your own life, if you've ever had your worth questioned by people who should be protected it, hit that subscribe button. Because what happened next wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. My name is Anna Morgan. 5 years ago, I added Caldwell to the end of that. Biggest mistake I ever made. Before Sean Caldwell walked into my life, I was building something real. Elite Affairs, Boston's top tier event planning firm. I started with nothing. Put myself through business school waiting tables. Lived on ramen and ambition. Every high-profile gala, every corporate event that mattered, every wedding the Boston elite whispered about. I made that happen. My reputation wasn't bought. It was earned. Sean found me at a children's hospital charity event I'd designed. He was tall, charming, had that effortless confidence rich people wear like cologne. You are the magician behind all this, he said, gesturing at the transformed Four Seasons ballroom. My mother needs someone exactly like you. One job became two, two became 10, and somewhere between planning his family's events and falling for his smile, I convinced myself the warning signs didn't matter. His mother, Eleanor, looked at me like I was help who'd forgotten her place. Self-made success is so American, she said at our first dinner together, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. His sister Melissa asked where I went to college, then said, "Oh, state school, how practical." But Sean seemed different. He told me his family was old-fashioned, that I shouldn't take it personally. When he proposed 11 months later, I said yes. Because I loved him. And because I wanted to believe love was enough. The wedding was the social event of the season. I planned most of it myself. Couldn't trust another planner with my own day. Eleanor had opinions about everything. The venue wasn't prestigious enough. The flowers too modern. The guest list missing important names. I compromised where I could. Held my ground where it mattered. Sean played peacemaker, but never once told his mother no. After the wedding, the undermining became surgical. They hire my company, then question every decision. Change plans last minute, take credit for my ideas. At family dinners, they ask my opinion, then talk over me like I hadn't spoken. Anna has such a good eye. Eleanor would tell her friends, patting my hand like I was a pet. It is like having a personal party planner in the family. Sean would shrug it off. That is just how mom is. Don't take it personally. But it was personal, and it got worse. Planning Eleanor's 70th birthday in Rome should be my crowning achievement. A week-long celebration, culminating in a private dinner overlooking the Colosseum. I pulled every string I had, leveraged every contact. It was going to be perfect. Then the cracks started showing. Deposits got delayed. Vendors called asking about payments. When I mentioned it to Sean, he brushed me off. The accountant as just being cautious with international transfers. But I saw the bank statements left open on his laptop one morning. Investments tanked. Properties mortgaged. Credit lines maxed. The Caldwell fortune was collapsing. I kept planning anyway. Used my own company as credit to secure deposits. Told myself it was temporary. Then came the morning we flew to Rome. Sean was in the shower. His phone lit up on the nightstand. I never checked his phone. Never. But something made me look. The preview said enough. Can't wait to see you in Rome. Have you told her yet? Vanessa Hughes. Sean's college girlfriend. The one his family always loved. The one they expected him to marry. I opened the thread. Months of messages, plans, a future, and a baby. Their baby due in 4 months. I took screenshots. forwarded them to myself, deleted the evidence, packed my bags, smiled, and got on that plane. Not yet. I wanted to see how this played out. If you've ever had to smile through betrayal, if you've ever had to play along while your world burned, comment the number 3 below. Let me know I am not alone in this. We landed at Fiumicino Airport as the sun painted Rome gold. ID arranged private cars for the whole family. Sean's parents Eleanor and Richard, his siblings and their spouses, aunts, uncles, the whole crew. Eleanor's first words stepping off the plane. I thought I specified hotel cars. Anna, these seem generic. ID booked the same service diplomats use. Didn't matter. Nothing I did ever would. The Hotel de Russie welcomed us with champagne and 5-star treatment. ID spent months arranging. Eleanor barely glanced at her personalized itinerary before waving it away. We'll just play it by ear. We know Rome quite well. Weeks of planning. Dismissed in 5 seconds. Our suite was stunning. Terrace overlooking the Spanish Steps. Fresh flowers everywhere. Sean's favorite wine breathing on the sideboard. The second we walked in, his phone buzzed. He stepped outside. Voice low. Work, he said when he came back. Wouldn't meet my eyes. The welcome dinner that night was the first clear sign. Somehow the seating got rearranged, and I ended up at the far end of the table, separated from Sean by his cousin and aunt. Inside jokes flew. Stories about past trips I wasn't part of. When I tried joining the conversation about our planned activities, Melissa cut me off. Oh, we actually decided to do family shopping tomorrow instead of the Vatican tour. Family shopping? I asked. Eleanor smiled. Just a tradition. You'd be bored. Why don't you use the time to check on the birthday arrangements? That is your expertise. The pattern continued for 3 days. I'd wake up to Sean already gone. A note about breakfast with his father. The family would disappear for hours on excursions. Everyone knew about except me. Conversations stopped when I walked into rooms. Dinner reservations mysteriously changed to include old friends, who looked at me with curious pity. On the 3rd morning, Sean left his briefcase unlocked. Inside were draft divorce papers, dated 2 months earlier. A settlement offering me almost nothing. And a script, an actual script, outlining how Sean would announce our mutual decision to divorce at his mother's birthday dinner. My hands shook as I photographed every page. There it was. The plan: use Eleanor's birthday as the stage for my exit. Make it public enough to control the narrative, but frame it as amicable. The unsuitable wife, unable to handle Caldwell family life. I didn't confront him. Instead, I kept playing my role. Confirmed flowers, met with the restaurant manager, approved menu cards, all while documenting everything. Bank statements showing offshore accounts, emails about liquidating assets, a handwritten note from Eleanor. Once this unpleasantness with Anna is behind us, Vanessa will be welcomed back properly. The morning of Eleanor's birthday, I woke early. The day was packed: private gallery tour, vineyard lunch, then back to prepare for the grand dinner. I was in the hotel business center when I heard Eleanor's voice through the thin wall at the concierge desk. There will be 12 seats, not 13, she said into her phone. I don't care what the original reservation says. The seating chart I sent is final. Pause. No, that won't be a problem. His wife won't be staying for dinner. A family matter. No need for questions when she leaves. My blood went cold. The missing chair wasn't a mistake. It was the centerpiece. Public humiliation designed to look like my choice. I closed my laptop, and I started making calls. I arrived at a Roma restaurant an hour early, like any good planner would. The rooftop venue was breathtaking, Colosseum glowing in the distance, white peonies and roses everywhere. Champagne chilling, 7-course menu confirmed. Is everything to your satisfaction, Senora Caldwell? Marco the Mantra D asked. Perfect, I said, and I meant it. This would be the last event I ever planned for the Caldwells. I returned to the hotel to change into the midnight blue Valentino gown I'd bought for tonight. As I did my makeup, I studied my reflection. 5 years of trying to fit into a world determined to reject me. But instead of breaking me, they'd sharpened me. The family gathered in the lobby. Eleanor in vintage Chanel, diamonds catching the light. Sean's eyes widened when he saw me, maybe remembering what attracted him in the first place, or maybe calculating how soon he'd be free. "Anna, darling, you look lovely," Eleanor said, air kissing near my cheeks. The drive was short. Fake chatter about activities I'd been excluded from. In the elevator, Sean put his hand on my back, a gesture that once felt loving but now felt like performance. The doors opened to the terrace I'd designed, stunning the Colosseum illuminated against the night. How fitting a monument to both grandeur and inevitable collapse. Eleanor entered first to enthusiastic applause. One by one, everyone moved toward the table. I followed Sean, looking for my seat. It wasn't there. No chair, no place setting, nothing. I stood there, frozen. Around me, conversations continued. Staff avoided my eyes. They knew. "Is something wrong?" Eleanor asked, voice dripping false concern. "There seems to be a mistake," I said, calmer than I felt. "My seat is missing." Furrowed brows. Exchanged glances. Sean half stood, performing concern. "That is odd," Melissa said. "Did someone miscount?" Richard cleared his throat. Perhaps a miscommunication with the restaurant. Then Sean delivered his line. He actually chuckled. "Oops, guess we miscounted." The family laughed. Gentle, amused. Like they were sharing an inside joke. In that moment I saw it all. The calculated cruelty. The public setting chosen to prevent a scene. The groundwork for their story. Poor Anna couldn't handle Caldwell family life. I looked around the table. Eleanor triumphant. Richard uncomfortable but complicit. Melissa and Thomas enjoying the show, and Sean, my husband, watching me with detached curiosity. I could have made a scene. That is what they expected. Instead, I straightened my shoulders and said 4 words. "Seems I'm not family." The smiles faltered. "I'll see myself out." "Anna, don't be dramatic," Sean called. "We can fix this." I didn't respond. I walked through that restaurant with my head high, took the elevator down, and crossed the street to a small cafe with a perfect view. I ordered espresso, pulled out my phone, and I began. First, an email to Marco with pre-arranged instructions. Proof of my authority as account holder. Confirmation of immediate payment reversal. Then calls the vineyard for tomorrow's lunch, the private Vatican guide, the yacht captain for the Amalfi Coast, the Tuscany villa for the final weekend. One by one, I canceled everything. Transferred every deposit back to my business account. With each cancellation, I felt lighter. Sean's text started coming, annoyed, then confused, then desperate. I ignored them all. 28 minutes after I'd walked out, I finished my espresso. Time for the final act. I went back, through the service entrance. Marco met me, concerned. "Signora Caldwell, are you certain?" "Absolutely." I handed him an envelope. "This confirms the payment reversals and cancellation of my company's guarantee. The Caldwells will need to provide new payment to continue their dinner." He nodded. In the events world, relationships are everything. I'd worked with Marco 3 times before. He owed me professional courtesy. When should I inform them? "I'll text you in 5 minutes. He led me to a small alcove with a perfect view. The Caldwells were mid-toast, champagne raised, faces glowing. First course served imported oysters and caviar Eleanor had specifically requested. My phone buzzed. "Sean, Anna, where are you? Stop being childish and come back." Another. "Mother is upset. You are embarrassing yourself." I didn't respond. I texted Marco, "You may proceed." I watched Marco approach the table with 2 staff members. He leaned down to Richard, who sat opposite Eleanor. Richard's expression shifted, polite interest to confusion to alarm. He pulled out his wallet, speaking urgently. Marco shook his head, showing him something on a tablet. The entire table noticed now. Eleanor set down her fork, posture rigid. Sean stared at his phone, reading my latest text. "All deposits returned to my company. All arrangements cancelled. Your family's financial issues are about to become very public. Enjoy your caviar." Richard stood, face flushed. Eleanor's hand flew to her diamond necklace. Melissa whispered frantically to her husband. Thomas pulled out his phone, and Sean sat frozen, face drained of color. Unlike the others, he understood. He knew what I'd discovered. He knew what would happen when his mother's society friends learned the Caldwells could cover a dinner bill. My phone rang, Sean calling. I answered. Anna, he hissed, fury and panic mixing. What the hell do you think you are doing? Seems I am not family, I said calmly. So I am not responsible for family celebrations. You need to fix this right now. Do you have any idea how humiliating? I have exactly the idea, Sean. That was the point. Where are you? We need to talk. I can explain about Vanessa. I am sure you can. Problem is, I've seen the financial statements, the emails. I know the Caldwell empire is crumbling. And I know you've been hiding assets offshore before filing for divorce. His sharp breath confirmed everything. Those were private. Yes, just like the texts about Vanessa's baby. Just like the script for announcing our divorce. Just like the seating arrangement deliberately excluding me. Silence in the restaurant. The manager was now addressing the entire table. Other diners watched openly. The Caldwell humiliation was becoming a spectacle. Anna, please, Sean. S voice cracked. You don't understand what this will do to us. I understand perfectly. That is why I did it. We can work this out. No, Sean. We can't. I ended the call and stepped out from my hiding spot. Time for my final appearance as a Caldwell. 12 pairs of eyes turned to me as I approached, angry, fearful. Disbelieving, Eleanor spoke first, voice shaking with rage. How dare you ruin my birthday? I smiled. I learned from the best, Eleanor. After all, isn't this exactly what you planned for me? Public humiliation, orchestrated exit. I just changed the ending. This is outrageous. You had no right. I had every right, every contract, every reservation, every arrangement was in my name. I simply adjusted the plans. You'll regret this, Melissa spat. When Sean divorces you, you'll get nothing. That is where you are wrong. I looked directly at Sean. I have copies of everything. The offshore accounts, the hidden assets, the fraudulent dealings. I am sure the IRS will find it fascinating. Their faces turned ghostly white. If you think this was the perfect response to their betrayal, comment the number 7 right now. I felt no triumph in that moment. Just liberation. I turned and walked away from the Caldwell family for the last time. I left Italy the next morning, upgrading to first class using points I'd earned, planning the Caldwell's previous vacations. The irony was delicious. Through the hotel concierge, I learned they'd paid for dinner with Eleanor's vintage Bulgari bracelet as collateral. By morning, word had spread through Rome's hospitality network. The illustrious American family was having payment difficulties. Remaining vendors started demanding upfront payment. My phone flooded with messages. Richard, this is actionable. Our lawyers will be in touch. Melissa, you've made the biggest mistake of your life. Eleanor, I always knew you were coming. This vindictive display proves it. But Sean's messages told the real story. You have no idea what you've done. My father had a hard episode. Is that what you wanted? Then, the Prescotts and Whitneys saw everything. Do you know what this means for our standing? Later, the hotel is demanding payment for the entire week up front. They say all guarantees have been cancelled. And finally, please, Anna, I need to talk to you. It is about more than us now. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded all the financial documents I'd collected to my lawyer with instructions to hold them securely. If the Caldwells wanted a legal fight, I was ready. When I arrived home, to our Beacon Hill brownstone, I hired movers to pack only what was mine. Clothes, jewelry I'd bought myself. My first edition book collection, the artwork I'd acquired before the marriage. Everything else, wedding gifts, jointly purchased items, I left behind. I wanted nothing that tied me to their web of lies. 2 days later, the Boston Globe published a small item in their society section. Investment group faces inquiry. It mentioned financial irregularities and questions from investors. Not front-page news, but enough to send shockwaves through Boston's social circles. Sean showed up at my new apartment a week after I returned. Unannounced, he looked wrecked. The polished veneer of privilege replaced by genuine desperation. You need to come home, he said when I opened the door. This has gone far enough. This isn't a negotiation tactic, Sean. This is divorce. He stepped inside without invitation, running his hands through disheveled hair. The sexies looking into father's accounts. 2 board members resigned. Mother had to cancel her charity gala because 3 major donors pulled out. That sounds like a Caldwell family problem, I replied. Not mine. It is your problem if I go down with the ship. We're still married. My debts are your debts. I allowed myself a small smile. Not when I have proof you deliberately excluded me from financial decisions and hid assets to defraud me in divorce proceedings. My lawyer says that is enough to protect me. His facade cracked completely. Sean sank onto my couch, head in his hands. I never wanted it to be like this. What did you want, Sean? To marry me for my event planning skills. Use me to manage your social calendar while you reconnected with Vanessa. Discard me when I was no longer useful. It wasn't like that in the beginning, he said quietly. I did love you, but not enough to stand up to your family. Not enough to be honest about your affair. I sat across from him, feeling strangely calm. When is the baby due? His head snapped up. How did you? 4 months, according to the texts I saw. Congratulations. Heavy silence fell between us. Outside, rain began tapping against the windows of my new apartment, smaller than our brownstone, but mine alone, paid for with proceeds from a business I'd built, without Caldwell money or connections. I'll give you whatever you want, Sean finally said. Just hand over those documents and sign an NDA, name your price. That was the moment I realized the Caldwells still didn't understand me. After 5 years, they still saw me as someone who could be bought, someone motivated by the same material concerns that drove their existence. I don't want your money, Sean. I want my freedom. I want the truth acknowledged. I stood, indicating our conversation was ending. The documents stay with my lawyer unless you try to drag me down with you. The divorce terms are simple. I walk away with what is mine, you with what is yours. And Vanessa, the baby, his voice was barely audible, that is between you and your conscience. I hope you'll be a better husband to her than you were to me. After he left, I stood by the window watching the rain intensify. The scandal unfolded gradually over the following weeks. The Globe ran a more extensive piece on Caldwell Investment Group's financial irregularities. Longtime clients quietly withdrew portfolios. Eleanor's position on 3 prestigious charity boards became emeritus rather than active. Vanessa's pregnancy became public when she was spotted at her obstetrician's office wearing an engagement ring. The timeline made it clear their relationship had resumed long before our marriage ended. In Boston's high society, infidelity might be tolerated if discreet, but such blatant misconduct violated the unspoken code. My business thrived, despite or maybe because of the scandal. Clients who'd once looked down on me now appreciated my discretion and integrity. The story circulating wasn't about a woman scorned, but about a professional who refused to be used and discarded. 6 months later, I received an invitation that made me laugh out loud, a request to bid on planning Eleanor Caldwell's next charity event. Apparently, desperation had overcome pride. I declined politely, citing a full schedule. The divorce finalized without drama. The Caldwells, focused on salvaging their reputation and finances, agreed to my terms without argument. Sean and Vanessa married quietly. Their daughter was born 2 weeks later. I sent no gift. On the 1-year anniversary of that night in Rome, I found myself planning another event in Italy, a celebrity wedding on the Amalfi Coast. As I stood on a terrace overlooking the Mediterranean, phone in hand, vendors at my command, I realized something unexpected. I was happy, not despite the collapse of my marriage, but because of it. The Caldwells had tried to make me feel small, to reduce me to an accessory in their grand narrative. Instead, they'd inadvertently freed me to reclaim my story. In losing what I thought I wanted, I'd found what I actually needed. Not acceptance from a family determined to reject me, but the courage to reject a life built on appearances. I raised my glass to the setting sun, toasting the missing chair that had shown me exactly where I belonged. Not at their table, but at my own. What would you have done in my position? Would you have walked away quietly, or would you have dismantled everything like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your story.